Hi there guys, welcome to another edition of the Cover Zero show, continuing with the free agency reviews. This episode will be covering the Washington Redskins. Thus far these have all been fairly positive for the most part, outside of my criticism of the tight end market and certain moves. However, this is the first team I feel I'm going to be highly critical of, so Redskins fans, I apologise in advance. I'm sure you probably agree with a lot of what I'm going to say if you've been following the team closely over the last few weeks. So first thing I'm going to mention is the big news. Scott McCloughan, the GM, considered one of the best talent scouts in the NFL. He's been let go. There's some talk about what's gone on there. I'm not going to delve into that stuff. I don't know. It's a messy situation. The team's lost a lot of talent last year. Very good offensive team. Kirk Cousins played well again, fell off a bit towards the end of the year, became a bit of a turnover machine and sort of struggled those last few games when they only needed to sort of pull off one more win to get into the playoffs. But generally, you know, having been a bit of a doormat for a while in the NFC East, things have been looking positive. I mean, they've got Jay Gruden re-signed. I think he's done a great job there as the coach, made them a very productive outfit. Defensively, I don't think there's a huge amount of talent. You saw that at times, struggled to stop the run. Had a lot of big name players hit free agency. A lot of them have walked out the door. I think there's issues between Cousins and the team apparently. Although he will sign the tag, they've not locked him up to a long-term deal. Not entirely sure what's going on there. I'm not. You know, it appears it's a bad situation. Be interesting to see if he gets traded. I thought overall it wasn't really a step forward last year. They kind of just sort of continued with what they'd been. But with the amount of talent that's gone, I think this team is going to be worse for it. So let's do this out of order, because first I want to cover the losses to sort of elaborate on what I've said there. So 3 big name players have gone. Pierre Garçon has gone to San Fran. They've also lost Deshaun Jackson and Chris Baker to the Buccaneers. Now, that's 2 starting reliable well, I don't know if I go so far as reliable with Deshaun Jackson. Garçon's a very reliable receiver. You know what you're going to get. I actually had him listed as my top wide receiver available in free agency simply because of that level of reliability. You can expect to get 1,000 yards from him. Really solid route runner, even though he's up there in age. A really, really good player. His loss will be felt. Deshaun Jackson is a unique player in a lot of ways. You know, those crossing routes, deep crosses, go routes, he's a threat. There's only so many guys with that kind of deep speed in the league. There's nobody on the roster that will be able to offer them that. Their receiving core is certainly worse, and it's been one of the strengths of the team the last few years. So I don't know how Cousins will fare without those 2 guys to throw the ball to. Certainly expect the offense to take a step back as a result. Don't get me wrong, Jordan Reed's still a great player. So that's got to be concerning for Redskins fans. Losing Chris Baker, I've no idea why they let him walk out the door. The last couple of seasons he's clearly been their best defensive lineman. It's been a bad bunch, but Baker's a really good player. I've talked about this in my exuberant, I suppose, discussions of him signing for the Buccaneers. Very, very happy with that signing for the Bucs, but I think a fairly low talent level Redskins defense could not afford to let him leave. And when I saw the contract details for the Bucs, I just don't understand why the Redskins couldn't top that offer. I think the Buccaneers underpaid for him. I'm surprised the market has allowed him to go there for that amount of money. Maybe he wanted to go to Tampa. Maybe he wanted to escape Washington. Maybe that's why all 3 of these guys have gone. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Those are big losses. All 3 of them. That's 3 of their, you know, if you were going to say last season who were their best players, you'd probably have Cousins, Reed, those 2, Baker, Kerrigan, Trent Williams. They're really the top guys on that roster now. 3 of them are gone. It's not good at all. Oh, and Brandon Scherf. I can't forget Scherf. He's turned into a really good player. So definitely think they're going to take a step back. Before free agency began, I had D-line as one of the needs. Even with Baker, had they retained him, still was going to be a need. The safety position. Don't know what they're doing at the safety position. It's a fairly weak group. I mean, as I said in the previous video, safety is a need for most teams in the league. I don't feel like there's enough good safeties in the league. And I feel it's a position that's somewhat undervalued by a lot of fans. It's so important to have at least one good one. If you can get a tandem, brilliant. I mean, look at what the Seahawks do. It's surprising that's not caught on more. And inside linebacker, they need a bit more speed at the position. Mason Foster's fielding okay there, but I don't think he's a great option. Could really do with an impact player there in the middle of the field. We saw them getting run all over at times last year. So they need to shore up that run defense. Absolutely have to. I mean, you've got to play the Cowboys twice a year. You need to be able to offer some resistance up the middle of the field. So they still look like needs to me. Looking at the moves they have made, Vernon Davis re-signing. I've ranted about the tight ends before. 3 years, 15 million. What? He filled in okay when Reed was injured last year, but 3 years and 15 million for Vernon Davis at this point in his career. I don't get it. Can you not do better? Can you not wait until the draft maybe? It feels like overpaying, especially when he's not going to be your number one guy. I don't even expect to see him on the field all that much. You know, Reed's clearly the number one guy. Maybe they'll split Reed out more this year and use Davis in line on some of those plays. They may have to after the losses they've suffered at receiver. Overpaid. Simple as. I don't know how much Davis has left to offer at this point in his career. 3 years as well. I don't know if he's going to be in the league for 3 years. They signed 2 of these D-line signings. Stacey McGee, 5 years, 25 million. So you're paying him the same amount of money that the Buccaneers are paying to Chris Baker. Clearly a superior player. I had to actually check who Stacey McGee was. Strange move. Now he could end up being a good player for them, but that and Terrell McClain they bought over from the Cowboys. He's okay. 4 years, 21 mil. Not too critical of that one. Again, Baker's probably a better player than both of them. You've got him in the building. He knows your scheme, and yet you're paying these guys the same amount of money as him. He must have wanted to leave. This neither one. I think McClain's solid. That's perfectly fine. I don't know much about this Stacey McGee, but certainly looks like an overpay. I say certainly. I mean, at this point in time, it definitely is an overpay. Strange moves. The McClain one, not so strange. Get him off the Cowboys. He's okay. I expect he'll probably play end. They could do with a nose tackle. As I've said before, there's still some guys out there. They should probably look to Jonathan Hankins, who I'm probably going to mention quite a lot because there's a lot of those 3-4 teams that still need a nose tackle at this point. Or if they don't, they could certainly upgrade by going after him. They could even spend some money on Dontari Poe, even though he really did not play particularly well last year. It would make a lot of sense. They need a run plugger. They need to go get one of those guys, I feel. Otherwise, we're going to see more of the same. DJ Swearinger. I'll get to a couple of positives. The other 2 moves they made. DJ Swearinger, 3 years, 15 mil. My money might be a little bit rich for my blood, but I think he played pretty well last year in Arizona. It improves what they've got, so understandable. Not a great cover guy, but he's a pretty good hitter. Gives them an in-the-box safety, which they probably need. As I say, they got trampled last season. I don't see that ending at this point in time unless further moves are made. And a great move. They did bring in Terrell Pryor, so that will combat the loss of one of those 2 receivers. A 1 year, $8 million deal. Good deal. It'll be interesting to see if he can replicate what he did last season. May not be fed as many targets. Jordan Reed's going to command a lot of the targets there because he's a fantastic receiving tight end. Be interested to see just if he can continue to develop. Very, very impressive last season, frankly. What he managed to do, first off, for Cleveland. That offense was Terrell Pryor and not much else, with Corey Coleman having missed the vast majority of the season. So, makes it really good signing. That one's an absolute positive for them. 1 year, no risk attached to it. They may have to fork out for him going into next season if he performs as well as he has again. But it was a need. I still feel like they could probably do with another receiver. I know they have a first rounder that didn't play much last year. Jameson Crowder's a guy, but it could do with somebody just a bit more reliable. Because Pryor, I still feel like he's not got the track record. It was one very good year. If he doesn't play up to that, doesn't adjust well to this scheme, or whatever the case may be, teams catch up to some of the things he's doing on tape. I don't think that will happen, but if it does, they need another guy. So that they should do. So that's the moves they've made. Fairly dubious at this point. Going forward, as I've said earlier in the video, inside linebacker still remains huge need. I feel like they could do with defensive backs. Well, I'm going to say that about just about every team. Every team needs more defensive backs. This team really could do with some more defensive backs. D linemen need nose tackle. I think they could do with another defensive end, although judging by the money they're paying this Stacey McGee fellow, he's probably going to be starting. Defensively, they still look like a very poor unit. Offensively, I think Gruden does a very good job scheming. This Cousins situation could really bite them, though. I don't know if he's going to be on the way out this off-season. If he goes, I expect this offense to just be a mess. They're okay at running back. They've got a couple of guys that are just fine. The offensive line's okay. I expect to see a drop-off next season from the offense, and really the offense has carried the team the last few seasons. So I think you're probably looking at a team that's going to struggle next season to not finish bottom of the NFC East. Best case scenario, maybe hovering around 8-8, 7-9, unless Cousins plays absolutely out of his mind. But frankly, I think last season we saw, the last 2 seasons we've seen he can't carry a team on his own, which is, there's not many quarterbacks that can. He can do plenty for you. He can win you games. He can get your team to the playoffs. We've seen that. He's productive. If he's unhappy there, then I think that's going to be a massive problem. They need to get that situation sorted. If he doesn't want to be there beyond this year, get rid of him. Get rid of him. There is no positive to keeping the player on the roster if he doesn't want to be there beyond this season. There just isn't. It will cause a toxic locker room environment. It does not make sense. Like, maybe Dan Snyder's thinking, well, maybe Bruce Allen will be gone if this next season's a disaster. Apparently there's some issues between Cousins and Bruce Allen. If that's the case, maybe he'll stay. But then if you're doing that, get rid of Bruce Allen now. There's so much that doesn't make sense to me with what's going on with this franchise. Just reading the tea leaves, as they say, they have all the makings of a team that really falls off next season, I think, with these issues off the field, really sabotaging what is not a particularly great roster to begin with. So, yeah, I mean, this one's been very negative. I mean, simply put, I don't know what they're doing. I really don't. This offseason thus far, no team feels like they've taken a bigger step backwards than the Redskins. And that's disappointing after a couple of real positive seasons, sort of progressing from what had been a bit of a disastrous team for a number of years. And now they may be about to fall back into that abyss. So, sorry, Redskins fans. That's just the way I feel. Feel free to comment. Let me know. Are you feeling as negative as me about what's going on in Washington? It seems to be a sentiment that's very much shared by a lot of others, and understandably so. It doesn't look like a team with a particularly cohesive plan in order to compete in 2017. They need to get this quarterback situation sorted. Let me know what you think they should do in regards to Kirk Cousins. It'll be an interesting discussion. These are the kind of ones I really like to get other people's opinions on. Thank you very much for checking the video out. Please check out the others if you enjoyed this one. I've got all of the NFC East up, hoping to get the rest of the South done. Did the NFC North yesterday. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me on Twitter. Check out the Patreon. Any suggestions for future videos, feel free to let me know. I'll do my best to get them done, and any comments, I'll try and get back to them. But once again, my thanks for checking me out. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good day, and go Bucks.